Welcome back. Connecting to people. Now we're going to look at how we can connect to people, because without a connection, there's simply no sale. People buy from people they like and trust, so creating a relationship with everyone within an account is absolutely the basic part of winning business. We're going to look at it across three areas. Firstly, empathy. Secondly, the customer care window. And thirdly, the law of liking. Now, we've all heard the word empathy being floated around as the way in which we open a relationship with someone. But what is empathy? Well, we can split that down into three parts to better understand it and how to apply it. Just before we do, let me say firstly that connection to others is not about whether you're introverted or extroverted. It's about how well you can adapt your style to the person you're talking to. Your customer is going to be made up of introverts and extroverts. So given that we tend to like people like ourselves, there's no particular advantage in being either introvert or extrovert as a salesperson. And in fact, research has borne this out. Whichever you are, you're going to need to have empathy. The goal is to understand the customer's point of view. And these four parts: what they don't know, what they do know but don't understand from your perspective, what they understand but still have a problem with, and lastly, what's the best way to deal with those three factors. Their point of view is going to be full of thoughts about money, power, position, how everything looks, future prospects for them or their team or the company, and some historical reasons too. There's going to be a rich tapestry of ideas within which you're going to be able to try and pick out some certain ideas in order to develop a sale. The first element of empathy is called cognitive empathy, which is about the ability to understand another human being. And this is very much a brain talent, and so it can be learned from experience and from watching good actors. The way they communicate emotions with their voices and body language helps you to understand what they're communicating, and it allows you to use those ideas to communicate with your customers. Secondly, you need to have emotional empathy, and this is the ability to feel what another person is feeling. This is especially useful in sales because knowing the emotional temperature of the person in front of you is key to delivering the right message at the right time. If you deliver the wonderful news about how much you can save them, but it's on the last day before they go on their summer holidays, well, don't expect a concrete action plan to come out of that. They're going to be thinking about packing their bags and catching a plane. Finally, the third part of empathy is called empathic concern, which is the deeply held desire to want to help other people. You know yourself when you come across this. The person is not just repeating the script or fulfilling their obligations, they really want to help. And it can be as simple as something like a sales assistant in a shop who gets really excited about finding just the right suit for you and making sense of their ranges in terms of stuff you need. You do this by not allowing people within the customer account to hang back and not express their needs. This potentially gives them the excuse of saying they weren't consulted later on, as they step in to delay or even derail the sale. Get all the stakeholders involved early on and ensure they focus on their own problems and understand that your focus is their satisfaction. Connecting to people has four parts that answer two questions that stay in your customer's mind until they hear what they need. These are the elements of the customer care window. Firstly, do you actually care about me and my company? If any of us ever feels that a salesperson doesn't really care about us, well, we simply stop listening and move on. You've done it yourself when an assistant in a shop starts telling you all about their fabulous product insurance cover when you're just trying to figure out whether you really need a mini vacuum cleaner or not. Secondly, are you any good at your job? Do you actually know what you're on about? Can you give the customer the information that they need? Everything you do with a client must strengthen the answers to these two questions in their heads. Now, looking at the diagram, it's clear that just being good at your job, whilst important, is not enough. If you can convince someone that you're the most competent person in the world and know your product, your company, the market and every customer in it better than any other soul on the planet, then you will definitely get their respect. And respect is wonderful, but it's not enough. When a customer respects you, it will be for your grasp of the facts from an expert's point of view, not for your understanding of the world from their point of view. Likewise, if a customer truly believes that your concern is totally for them, but doesn't believe you have enough knowledge to solve their problems, then you basically become a friend. It's like when a well-meaning neighbour offers to take a look at your car when you tell them it's got a problem, because they once had a car with a problem like that 20 years ago. Unless they're a certified mechanic, they're getting nowhere near the hood of your car. Your competence is judged from your actual behaviour. Do you ask the right technical questions? Do you have the tool set and know how to use it? Have you had experience that actually informs the customer's problem? Now, a quick point to notice here is that in a study published in the Harvard Business Review several years ago, it was discovered that people would rather work with someone who was genuinely nice and genuinely caring and totally up to date with their craft. That's hardly surprising, is it? But when it came to a choice between someone who was not quite as knowledgeable but was very caring, compared to someone who was a total whiz kid but was just not very warm, a little judgmental perhaps, then the vast majority of people went for the nicer person. So remember, it's better to be nice and know a little than to be a bit of a pain and know everything. Apart from the obvious fact, which we've mentioned, that attractive people are generally more popular, more trusted, and considered more intelligent, there are 4 further elements to the law of liking, as described by Robert Cialdini in his groundbreaking and often quoted book, Influence. Firstly, similarity. Similarity is finding common areas with your contacts. Same geography, same school, same university, you like the same football team, anything that creates a bridge. Look them up on LinkedIn to get a clue what to talk to them about in this regard. Ask each contact that you come across about other contacts, other people in the account, so they can provide you with the information that you can use to find common ground between you. Secondly, compliments. Now, compliments need to be handled carefully, but this is basically about being unremittingly positive about your contact and their company. Find nice things to notice and comment on them, and be specific to the person, not just general comments. So, telling someone they have great spreadsheet skills is much better than just telling them they're brilliant. Also, do be careful with what you notice, that it doesn't have anything to do with gender or racial elements, as that's most likely to get you thrown out of the building or fired. Stay focused on what the person has achieved, what their team has achieved, what their company stands for and is admired for. Familiarity. Familiarity can be developed by using as much of the client's terminology as possible, referencing common standards, relating stories that they've heard already, and adding a few new details. Use their slide format. Do most of the meetings at their premises. And finally, association. Association is simply using the positive aspects of brands, symbols, and shared history to deepen a relationship. So, if you have a well-known brand, that's great, use it. If you don't, then you need to make an association with one. Perhaps you used to work there and can tell stories that help your client, that sort of thing. Having memberships to industry bodies, certificates of quality, awards and references that all rub off to give you credibility and gravitas. So there you are, connecting to people. It's all about empathy. It's all about making sure your customer window is wide open. And lastly, it's all about knowing the laws of liking and using them to your advantage.